Welcome to episode 49 of Starfield with Normal People. My name is Michael, and as always, I'm here with Duane. Duane, how are you
Hello,
doing?
everyone. I'm doing so good, Michael. Thank you for asking. Yeah, so this is our first video podcast, Michael. How exciting.
That's right. Very exciting. Yeah, it's fun. A lot of people like to put a face to the names and the voices.
Yeah, it's probably more exciting for us than it is for the poor people that have to watch us, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, this is the new reality, so get used to it.
You know, we did do that holiday special, so we actually did do one other video podcast before this. And of course, the Normal People Gaming podcast. We've done one video, so check that out if you haven't seen it.
If you are a fan of Starfield with Normal People and you want to hear us just talk about other gaming news, we do have the NPG podcast, the Normal People Gaming podcast. So please check that out.
We never mentioned any other games besides Starfield in this one, ever.
That's right. Yeah. Starfield, and sometimes maybe we talk about RoboCop. I'm not sure if just my sheer hatred for it. Yeah, hey, look. Starfield's been out a while, and we know that there are some updates coming this year. Well, we know we're gonna hear something this year. So it's not dead. All right, there's things coming.
Not even close.
No,
I think with the Bethesda's track record with how they almost reinvent games, we saw that with Fallout 76. There's no doubt in my mind, and plus, sometimes the game studio can only keep this kind of stuff secret only so well, right? It kind of seeps out into other developer studios. People that work there might talk a little bit about it when their friends hear something. So we kind of, as the end user, it kind of gets filtered down to us through these various means. None of it's verified, but we're hearing things that are very exciting, right? I mean, we're hearing like a major overhaul. So I would be shocked, Michael, if we don't get something that honestly surprises me, both from like a full-on gameplay change standpoint, as well as like, I mean, more content, like more stories, more places to go. Who knows?
Yeah, this is something that just occurred to me as you were speaking. I was thinking about how they came out with the game, they were developing the game, and then what did we know? We knew that Shattered Space was coming. We knew it by name. That means that they had that already in motion, which means whatever's coming next is going to be directly related, excuse me, to the feedback that they got when the game released. So they might have made little adjustments here and there. Again, I don't want to get too excited, but I really feel like the next big update for this game is going to address a lot of the feedback that they've gotten.
Do you have any idea what this means, Michael? This means no more bubble mini game when you get your Starfield power, right? Because that has been like the number one, even in what we're going to talk about today.
So. Yeah.
We're going to reference an article, but they talk about it. I'm like, it's not, why did you even bring it up in the article? It's not, it just doesn't, it seems like such a minuscule portion of the game that I'm continually surprised by people complaining about it, but it's a valid point nonetheless, even if it is a small part.
It is. I feel like definitely when the game first came out, I wanted to believe that it wasn't that bad of a thing. I wanted to believe it wasn't that bad. It's not great. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's not great. So yeah, that would be great. That would be an awesome thing for them to address.
I still have like 2 powers left to find. I'm like that far behind everyone in this game. Still haven't gone through the Unity, but like I recently went and got another power. And it's so, again, it takes 30 seconds. And between getting the powers, for me personally, as so much time has passed that I'm like, really, there's so many other more annoying things in the game. If you want to look at it from that, from that point of view. To worry about.
Well, I will say, even though we are waiting for a big update, you pointed out this article to me, which is from
CBR, not a website I visit all that often, but a gentleman by the name of Matthew Evans. Hey, this could be
Hey,
your one of your brothers or
and
cousins or
M.
something, right?
Evans. Yeah, probably a cousin, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Right. Well, they wrote an article entitled "Why You Should Go Back to Starfield in 2025," which immediately drew my attention because I agree with the very first point, which is Starfield feels less empty than it did at launch. Do you agree with that statement?
Let's see. That's an interesting statement. Does it feel less empty than it did at launch?
Mhm.
Possibly. It's tough because they haven't outright said, in the update notes, we've tweaked outposts or we've tweaked like POIs or whatever, but it's kind of funny. There are people that think the game feels like they've made adjustments. I don't know.
Well, I
It
mean,
definitely, yeah.
to follow up on that, Matthew talks about the Shattered Space DLC. And so that helped to flesh out that feeling of barrenness because Shattered Space was self-contained. I mean, you were all in
Yeah.
Varun Kai, right?
And
We
it's
were right
very
in
dense.
Dazra. It's very dense.
Yeah, it's just like there's a farm here and there's a little POI there, and you're just going from POI to POI. So I definitely get that.
Yeah, they went on to say that it also deserves to be evaluated for what it is. And basically, they
Yes.
say it's not Skyrim in space. Stop saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, they said it's not Skyrim in space, and that's okay. I agree with that. And we've talked about that before
Well,
too. Like
yeah.
it
I
is
feel like
completely different. It
Matthew.
stands on its own.
Yeah, I feel like Matthew is arriving at this place where I kind of like, not to pat ourselves on the back. I feel like we and our Discord, our group, our fans, our
Mhm.
friends, we've kind of been at this point since
We've
the
known
beginning.
this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hmm.
But if Matthew can help other people arrive at this conclusion, that would be great. The same way
Hmm.
that Fallout is not, Fallout 3 is not Oblivion. It was built on the same engine, but it's not the same game. I know there's similarities. There's a lot of similarities to, Elder Scrolls and to Fallout, but it's not the same game. So,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to talk about one of his points, which was that mini game, and he says there are still a few lackluster elements in Starfield, like the floaty mini game used to gain new powers. So we already kind of addressed that. Talks about ship customization, and I guess the overriding kind of theme of this article is that Starfield does have a lot to offer if you kind of understand that it's a standalone single player experience that is not supposed to be Fallout in space. It's not supposed to be Skyrim in space.
Yep.
So once you have those expectations kind of addressed in your own mind, you're fully open to enjoying the game.
There's yeah, I do appreciate that Matthew has written this article, especially just as a fan of Starfield. Starfield
Mhm.
probably is now one of my favorite games of all time. I have I have other games that I tell people are some of my favorite experiences, like I'll say Mass Effect. So the Mass Effect trilogy is
Mhm.
one of my favorite games of all time. However, I I probably just in the whole series, maybe I put in a few hundred hours, and then that's that. You play it, you experience it, and you're done. Starfield, insane. I've put in insane hours, and it's not even like,
Wait, what's insane hours to
well,
you?
for me, yeah, it's not even going to be insane compared to some of the people in our Discord. Some people have put in way more, but I'm thinking like over 1,000 hours to
Considering that
me.
you are a father, husband, and you have a full-time job, obviously, that's
And I
more than
play a
40
lot of,
hours a
yeah,
week, and you play a lot of other games.
and I
So,
play
I
a lot
mean,
of other games.
even given all that, you
Yeah.
do have quite a few hours in the game.
The way I think about it is I look back at a game like No Man's Sky, where in my mind, I feel like, oh, wow, that was the year I was doing nothing but playing No Man's Sky. And I look back and I have like 400 hours total in that game. So for Starfield to come out more recently and just I've blown past those hours that I played
Mhm.
No Man's Sky, it just shows to me like Starfield is still pretty new. So for me to have this many hours is a lot, but yeah,
It definitely
many.
has the new toy feel for me on it. Just a quick sidebar. Somebody, maybe it was the Rizzler in our Discord, posted a vending machine. I think it was a mod, but the vending machine,
Yeah.
it was kind of showcasing the physics of Starfield. But
Yeah, the
it
cans like hitting the glass and then falling,
no,
and then
but
another can. Yeah.
yeah, but what I loved about it was it uses like the existing sound effects, and there's just something about like that kind of click sound effect. It's such a great sound effect. I don't know, there's a lot of thought put into the little things in the game, which I appreciate, right?
Well, let me add to that because you're totally right. I'm thinking about how other games are developed, and the sound effects are often triggered by, oh, I'm doing this attack, and the sound effect
Hmm.
happens. Whereas what you're talking about is a sound effect attached to the physics and object collision. So when a modder comes in, says, okay, I've built this vending machine and here's the glass, the
Hmm.
game already knows what it sounds like when the can hits the glass or hits the bottom, like hits the metal at the bottom. Like, that's amazing. That's incredible. Like, I don't know. I
It
love
definitely
the
is.
the creation engine.
And just to be clear, I was referring to like when you press the button, it makes like the XP increase sound effect. It's
Oh,
like that
okay,
little
that. Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of,
yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it, but
That is okay. That is cool. We're
it
talking about
triggers
different things, but
endorphins.
that's
We
cool.
are, but I
Yeah.
appreciate what you said nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's
yeah.
really cool. I love their sound effects. I mean, dude, the level up, it's okay. Oblivion remaster. When you
Uh-huh.
level up, it's kind of lackluster now because when you go to sleep and level up, the music is like it's
Uh-huh.
soft and whatever. And I compare that to the Skyrim level up and the Starfield level up, which just is like impact. It's just
Something
like,
happened. You have done
dude,
a great thing by leveling up.
yeah,
What an
it's
achievement. No, you feel that 'cause there's bass to it. Like,
yeah.
you get the visual thing that tells you what happened. And I mean, yeah, it's all good.
Well, as we're, you know, aside from this article, which I agree, you should play Starfield in 2025.
Mhm.
As we're waiting for a big update, we do have creations. We have Creation Club.
We do. Yeah, and there's been one that has received a lot of traction, at least in our Discord. It's called Darkstar. And we, during our show prep, we're like, have you tried it? No. Have you tried it? No. Neither one of us have downloaded it. But like I said, in our Discord, people are talking about it.
Yeah,
And
I just
so
see it all the time.
I went to the Starfield creations from Bethesda to kind of take a look at what it was. And basically, their own description is it's a complete gameplay overhaul that extends gameplay hundreds of levels beyond where core Starfield stops scaling. So,
Yep.
Michael, you talked about how
Interesting.
many hours you put into the game.
Yep.
It does get to a point where it doesn't feel like the enemies are no longer hard, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, I'm not even
Well,
at level 100 yet, so haven't really reached that stage. But
I'll say it feels a little bit imbalanced because you'll most of the enemies, like, so let's say I'm going to get a target at a POI, most of the enemies will be way too easy, and then the boss character target will be really scaled up. And it's sort of like, it's been a while, but I don't think that it's like too difficult, but it is surprising. And I personally would rather have everyone be, it's all a challenge. If people are shooting at you, it should be a challenge.
right.
So yeah,
Well, and
this is interesting.
they've combined free mods into Darkstar as well. So Darkstar is a paid mod, but you along with that you get the Darkstar Astrodynamics, Darkstar Manufacturing, and Darkstar Boost Fixer.
Right.
There's new features they talk about: shipbuilding features, crafting features, enemy scaling features, which we were just discussing, outpost features, and gameplay features. One of those being, excuse me, that you can enable Starborn armor scaling to continue receiving upgraded Starborn armor through New
Mm,
Game 50. New Game 50? For real? People are doing that? Wow.
some people are. Yep.
That's
Some
incredible.
people are. which is
Yeah. So a
interesting
lot.
because I personally would, when I play again, start a new character. I feel like I don't want to go through the Unity with that character. I feel like I want to
Mhm.
just build my world and
I'm in the same boat with my original character. I only have ever created one character, and I have no desire to go to that point at this time. That could
yeah.
change.
Have you not for some people don't care about achievements, but for achievement hunters, I will say you can save your game, go through the Unity, see what that's like, roll
And then go back.
credits, get the
Right.
achievement, and then you can reload your save.
That's a good
And
point. I could do that.
actually, I'll say this, not spoiling anything, but I'll just say you
Sure,
can go
buddy.
through the Unity. You can go through the Unity, you still have a choice.
Right. You had mentioned that in the past, so I forgot about that. Where
And what's cool is there's dialogue with people,
so
with the
they've
characters you
integrated
care
that
about.
into the story. They recognize that this could be a conundrum for a player, so they actually integrated that into the storyline, which is fantastic. Right.
I really love that. I really love if so, if anyone is apprehensive about this, I will just say it's very cool. You can go, come back, and talk to people about not going through.
Right. Okay.
Highly recommend.
You also had a creation that you wanted to give a
Yeah,
shout out to, right? Okay.
I've been talking about this forever. I've been talking about like crafting and survival, and that okay. I don't know if this has full survival, but I will say I got this email from Bethesda saying one of they're featuring TGS Galactic Harvest. So this is basically a food and farming overhaul.
Okay.
I think they're going to get me with this one because I then mentioned it in the Discord and there were a lot of people already just our Discord members are on top of it. And they're just like they're saying that this does a lot. It adds tons of different foods and cooking and
Cooking
you know
is so important for role play, right? That's
yeah.
something that you've wanted all along.
Yeah, and and right now hey, I really appreciate that they added that, very quickly. I would say into the game's life cycle, they added a very basic like need to eat, but
Hmm.
it's just you eat anything. It doesn't matter what you eat. It's just every 30 minutes you eat something, or else you'll have a debuff. And if you eat, you get a buff. But I really love survival games. And I feel like I haven't done much outpost building because I I don't like that I really have to just zip around the galaxy at all times. And what I want so badly is to have a game where I'm settled down on one planet that I discovered and I can stay there for a long time. And needing to eat, having a health or a bar that depletes when you get
Hmm.
hungry. What that does is it adds a new element of gameplay. Like anyone that has played a survival game knows, like I need to get food as a gameplay element. That's
Hmm.
enough. That's enough to keep you going. And if I'm like in my Rev 8 traveling around this barren planet looking for outposts because I'm trying to find supplies or I'm hunting animals because that's another thing that TGS Galactic Harvest added is hunting.
Okay.
Hunting creatures, getting meat, cooking it and
Hmm.
eating. So, definitely excited to dive into TGS Galactic Harvest.
It reminds me of the pipes video. Did you watch that? It was another thing linked on our Discord. I apologize. I don't remember the YouTuber, but
Yeah,
they have an entire 20-minute video about are the pipes in this outpost in this point of interest, could they mean anything? Is there meaning to,
right.
or is it just random pipes everywhere? And
Yeah, they're
pipes are
they're
like
sort
a,
of examining like where are these
yeah,
pipes going? Yeah.
They go into detail, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to watch this video. This is going to be so boring. It was not at all. I was like, this
Yeah.
video is great. Spoiler, they are kind of designed on purpose, right? But that leads
Really?
back to this TGS Galactic Harvest thing, which is if stuff has meaning in the game, even pipes, then it makes it easier to role play. Like if you, I love the
Yes.
idea of having to create your own hydrogen or whatever it was, helium to power your spaceship, right?
Yes. Yep.
And those fuel tanks, the pipes are already set up to store the fuel, or you have to build it at your outpost, whatever you have to do to make your own fuel, to make your own food. That's an entire game in its own. And I
Yep.
wonder if that will happen in this new update, if we'll see some more robust kind of planet outpost type stuff where it does enhance role play. Because I would like that.
Yeah. You've made a good point, and I won't belabor this, but we did talk about in our last episode, we talked about how Bethesda spoiled us on other games.
Mhm.
And I realized I don't think I got to that point that you just made, which is other games don't allow us to role play as much.
Uh-huh.
Like, and that's the thing is, yes, I would like a more robust food and hunger, whatever. But even so, even without it, the fact that you can turn on the need for food. I've played Starfield and had moments where I got that debuff and I had no food in my inventory. And then
Uh-huh.
I'm searching the landscape and I'm searching abandoned POIs for food. I love that.
Right.
Bethesda put so much thought into all of these details. So like the fuel system, they didn't require it because they felt it wasn't fun for most gamers, but the information is there. So because they put so much thought into that, number one, like you said, the role play element, but number two, it's a foundation for any modder to come build off of it. Any detail that they find interesting about the game, they can build on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's so much thought was put into just the pipes in this game that I mean, it's nice, like you said, to have that foundation to be able to expand into a fueling system for your spacecraft. And I can't think of a lot of other games that have necessarily done that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that bodes well for future mods or maybe future expansions or even updates to the game where they implement that kind of stuff.
Yep. Absolutely. It just makes me feel like we haven't even scratched the surface of what Starfield is capable of.
Mm-hmm.
The foundation that's here is pretty insane for what's
Definitely.
there.
I mean, I went back. I played obviously Oblivion recently, as well as I played a little Fallout 4 just recreationally. And kind of what struck me in that game were the weapons, right? There are so many weapons, so many different types of weapons. And even within the types, there's 10 different styles or looks. And you
Yeah.
could just take weapons alone in Starfield and go nuts with additions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean
It's
there's a
insane.
lot
Yeah.
that could be added.
Yep. Well, we did want to talk about, so essentially, thanks to that article that Matthew Evans posted online,
Uh,
there really is a lot going on in Starfield. And I feel like it's worth examining because Starfield, Bethesda, it's sort of like how they did in Elder Scrolls and Fallout, where they'll create a little story with stuff that they left there, and then they just
uh,
hide it. They hide it in a cave. They never try to point it out to you. And I want to say that the technical achievements in Starfield are also so Starfield doesn't try to point it out to you. They'll have
exactly. Yeah.
amazing like moon rises, the light from the sun is bouncing off of that moon and
Uh,
causing, an orange, or it bounces off this planet and causes an orange glow across the moon. Like there's all these technical achievements, and Bethesda
uh,
just throws they throw it in there. They don't care. It's almost like you're rewarded for exploring and really
Mhm.
examining the game.
I want to go
Whereas,
back to,
yeah,
just to interrupt real quick, like the
yeah,
Oblivion has been on a lot of people's minds, and because it's a Bethesda game and it is the grandfather of Starfield, maybe great
yeah,
grandfather, right?
yeah, pretty much.
What I realized, I was watching like some behind the scenes interviews at Bethesda with some of the original team, and I didn't realize it because I didn't play Oblivion when it first came out, so I wasn't a part of the success of the game. But what made Bethesda and made future games like Starfield possible, I think Oblivion is partially responsible for that, especially in exploration. We've talked it to death, but coming out of the dungeon, the world, it's huge. And at the time, that blew people away, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Fallout, Skyrim, Fallout 4, Starfield, it's the natural evolution built on all the previous games and what they've discovered. But the core piece to this Bethesda style game is exploration. I think I'll
yeah,
die on that hill
yeah,
because you're right. It's like they write entire little sub stories. 80% of the player base may never find that note that leads to the cave that talks about the scientist that starves, and then there's a skeleton, and then like you're finding all these little mini stories, and that's what keeps people coming back for hundreds and hundreds of hours and makes mods like Darkstar relevant because
yeah,
you want to persist in this world, you want to scale up and continue to evolve within the game.
yeah. It's really interesting. It almost doesn't make sense from a business standpoint, but it does because then you have this expectation of what Bethesda's going to deliver. But
Hmm.
what I mean is that they, like you said, 80% of the player base are not going to find all this stuff. But
Listen, they could
man,
do way more paid mods too. Like you talk about, it's
yeah,
not a good financial decision. Like Bethesda could pour on whatever, all the stuff that like some of these battle royale games do with like skins and
yeah,
weapons and celebrity appearances and stuff like that. I think they could pour that on. And I also wanted to say that the games themselves, because they're so story focused, they lend themselves well to Hollywood. We saw that with the Fallout TV series, how
yeah,
successful
yeah,
that was. And that brought people back to Fallout 4, new people to Fallout
yeah.
4, as well as
It's Fallout
the success
76 had
of,
a huge
yeah,
surge.
and the success of Oblivion. I don't think anybody thought Oblivion was going to sell 2 million copies in the first 12 hours, right? That surprised
It's
everybody.
it's it certainly was a shock. Like I thought it would just be cool, Oblivion remaster. Like
Hmm.
there's a lot of remasters out there that come and go, and it's like, oh yeah, but I already played that game. So maybe if it's on sale for $15 in a few years, maybe I'll get it.
Hmm.
Then often I don't. Like there's games like Dead Rising and whatever. Dude, yeah, Oblivion remaster. I think they already the day after it was like 3 million. I don't know if they're up to
Hmm.
4 million. Like it's insane. It is so crazy how many
Yeah,
people have
it's
jumped
mind
back in.
boggling. But
Yeah.
the we could see a Starfield TV series. Maybe not right now. It might have to resonate a little bit. Maybe
Yeah.
if this new content that they're releasing soon changes the game, makes it more popular, I guess you could say,
Right.
then we
Cuz
could
I
see.
I'm on record as saying the game doesn't need an overhaul. I already love the game.
Mhm.
However, if they do overhaul the game in some way, it will boost, like you said, the popularity. If it goes to PlayStation, there's all this will it, won't it, question if it will ever get ported to PlayStation. I think it probably will. I feel like if Forza Horizon can get ported to PlayStation after 4 years,
Mhm.
I think it's only a matter of time.
I mean, money. Ultimately, there's going to be more money to be made by going to PlayStation. They have a exclusivity contract, I'm sure, with Microsoft right now that does not allow for that, but those are usually time period. They'll expire after 5 years or 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll see it go to
But
PlayStation probably.
I agree, and I think that's the path at which we would get a TV show someday.
Mm-hmm.
It is if they are able to boost that.
Yeah, I interrupted you, but kind of what you were saying is that, from the vault to the void, we'll say.
Yeah.
So from Fallout vaults to the void of space, the creation engine, and before that, Gamebryo, has evolved, right? And we kind of wanted to kind of take a little bit of a deep dive on the technology that all of us take for granted. I think it's more clear when you go back and you play Oblivion. And sometimes you have Starfield expectations while you're playing a 20-year-old game, and you're like,
that's been my experience.
It didn't do what we take for granted, what is such a great feature in Starfield. Does anything pop into your mind immediately? Like, I know they added sprinting, but...
Right. I mean, and that's just like, that's a gameplay thing. I mean, it's like all the voice acting.
Mm-hmm. Well, the NPC depth, right? Like we talked about this, where there's everything feels kind of barren in the world. It didn't at the time.
No, not at the time. And so there's a lot of technical things that we're going to get into. Like you said, we take it for granted now. But one of the things, this isn't even a technical thing, but this is something that stuck out to me, is the voice acting quality. And I'll even say probably, and I'm not saying anything bad about Bethesda, but I'll say that probably the direction wasn't great at the time. I'll say this. The voice acting is very silly in a lot of places because
there's, not to bag on Todd, but there's literally from the behind the scenes video, it's someone famous. It's like, who is it? Famous English actor. And he's like, how is that? And Todd's like, it's good. Like,
Yeah.
He was young. He wasn't as experienced at directing. Now I'm sure it's a completely different story.
And not only that, RPGs, massive RPGs at the time, we're still in this period of text only. We've got to go back. RPGs didn't have voice actors, many of them.
Right.
So I will say Oblivion was sort of coming into this period. Like they even said they didn't have enough space on the disc for all the NPCs that have like different voice actors, not even voice actors, but voice lines.
That's why you get a lot of repetition, right? They'll say bye, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. It's all the same.
Yeah. And you'll hear two NPCs with the same voice actor talking to each other. It's because of the disc limitations. But not only that, so there's just like this thing where sometimes you don't have the best acting because it's like an old person, like, oh, you get what you get and you're happy you got it. No, we were just happy that everyone was talking. That was amazing at that time.
Yeah, to be able to walk into a town and hear a conversation was mind-blowing, right?
It was, yeah. But you look at, then fast forward to Starfield, and the voice acting is so good, and the direction is so good. It's because now it matters more.
It definitely does. So there were quite a few. We're just going to hit a few bullet points kind of in what's changed technically. So there's a little bit of techno babble here, but bear with us because it has a point. Yeah, so one of the new things in Starfield would be global illumination lighting, right? So again, Oblivion kind of feels flat. Now the remake's a different story. The remake looks much, much better. I don't know the details. I'm sure it has Unreal 5, so it has
It's because of Unreal 5, yeah.
But in the Creation Engine 2, we have now a feature, and you were talking about earlier, where when the light of a planet comes by, it completely changes how the entire landscape looks. We take that for granted. We're just walking around in the world, kind of being like, oh yeah, I need to go find this or whatever. We're not even really seeing it, but I mean that's a huge technical achievement, right?
Yes, and I've seen games make it very obvious that the clouds are casting shadows on the ground. They make it so obvious that you kind of go, oh, wow, that's cool. But it doesn't it's maybe too dark or moving too quickly and it's unrealistic.
That's happened
So
quite a few times back in the
yeah,
day where you're playing something and you see an odd artifact
yeah,
and you realize, oh, they were trying to make a cloud shadow, or it was
right, yeah,
your character has a light behind them and you're casting a shadow, and we're talking like polygons, right? Back in the day where it's like there's a triangle on the wall. What is that? Almost I tried to shoot it. Oh, it was my shadow.
yeah.
It
It's
was
a
that kind of
weird
stuff.
shadow. Well, just to Bethesda's credit, a long time ago when I played Red Dead Redemption 1, the first one, I remember looking out over the landscape and going, "Oh wow, cloud shadows. That's so cool." And I actually, after many hours in Starfield, I wasn't sure if they had cloud shadows. And then we actually have another channel that we started building called Gamerscapes, which is you just put on this channel and you just look at it's just atmosphere of games. So if you haven't checked that out, please check it out. But my point is, I recorded an hour of this planet, just one shot, right?
Uh-huh.
And in when I went to edit, I scrubbed over the video very quickly. So basically giving myself a quick little time lapse of this shot. And that's when I saw it. Cloud shadows. But it's
Uh-huh.
so subtle and it's so much more realistic. So that's where I get into this thing where Bethesda has these really impressive lighting and shadow like stuff going on, and they don't direct your attention to it. How about any one of us has played any open world game, even Oblivion? I noticed even in the remaster,
Uh-huh.
certain shadows don't appear until you're very
Uh-huh.
close. So it's like the shadow of a tree, you sort of see it begin populating as
Pop
you get
in.
closer. Yeah. How about in Starfield when you are on an abandoned planet and a ship, which is miles away, comes in for a landing and you see that shadow also miles away and then go past you? It's so incredible. It's such it's just a detail, but it makes a big
Uh-huh.
difference to me.
Yeah. No, I mean they've come a long way on their technology, obviously, as they should. And people have kind of, poo-pooed the Creation Engine 2 because I mean, how many other companies have similar games? I mean, you could say like id always puts out a Doom, so you can compare their gaming engines to previous generations of gaming engines. That might be the exception. There's a few exceptions, right? But not a whole, not too many companies have 20 years of similar style RPGs that can be compared
Right.
to each other.
Right.
So I think sometimes people are like, well, they always did the camera thing where like Oblivion was really good at this. You're the
Yeah.
story moment, you get locked into the camera angle. That
And
happened in
everyone
Starfield.
pauses.
Do they pause in Oblivion? I
They
don't know if I
pause in
noticed that.
Oblivion and they don't pause in Starfield. In Starfield, people are
Right. Or
still
like
walking around.
Fallout, right? Because like the Death Claw would like be killing the guy you're talking to, whereas
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
lions are not attacking the NPC in Oblivion.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just like frozen behind
It's
him in the
frozen.
attack
Yeah.
mode. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you see that really like in Oblivion when you get to Kvatch and like there's a Dremora, this evil guy coming with a mace behind him, and everything pauses and they pause, and then the
Hmm.
guy is telling you all about they're killing everyone in Kvetch. And like you can then ask follow-up questions. You can have a long conversation with this guy about the
Hmm.
guy that's behind him about to kill him. And yeah, it's just kind of funny. So yeah, Starfield, it's interesting because Starfield doesn't pause, but they've
Hmm.
mostly avoided the issues that Starfield had, or I mean, that Fallout 4 had, where
Yeah.
death claws would come up and kill you.
There were quite a few amusing moments in Fallout 4 because of that particular problem. So I think they clearly learned, and it's probably more about picking those moments. Like your character will say, "Hey, you know, I want to talk to you when you get a moment. And sometimes it feels awkward. You're in battle and you're like, really? This is when
Right.
you're
Yeah.
saying that to me?
Yeah.
But they don't steal the screen. They don't lock you into a dialogue option while you're in a moment
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
they've learned quite a bit.
Yep. There's also been some improvements, talking about engine improvements with creation.
Mhm.
They have the SSD streaming for loading. I actually saw
Mhm.
another article recently where an ex Bethesda developer was actually defending the loading screens.
I saw that article too. I did not read
Yeah,
it. Uh,
yeah. It was interesting because he actually said that there was a build of Neon that had fewer loading screens. And so he said, I know that it's possible. And we actually, you and I have pointed out that it's possible because there's certain POIs where it will load when you go through the door, but then you'll find this like open window that you can just
yep.
jump out
You
of.
can jump out of the sunroof and get back into the outside load area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and really what it comes down to is we believed at the time that we spoke about this that when you go through that load, which is so fast, everyone, it's so fast.
Just
I
calm
don't
down.
mind. I don't mind people complaining there's so many load screens. Okay,
Mhm.
sure. But I keep seeing this thing repeated where they talk about Bethesda is famously has long loading screens in Starfield. No, no, no. They're not. They're not long. What are you playing on? Are you playing on like a Commodore 64? If you have an SSD drive, which you have to play this game, it's fast. They're fast loads.
Maybe they installed it on the wrong drive. And actually, I was thinking that when I did the Oblivion remaster because I'm running out of room on my SSD. So I was like, I'll just go ahead and
Yeah.
install it on the regular,
Right.
2 terabyte hard drive that I have for storage. Hasn't seemed to really affect gameplay,
Oh, that's
but
good.
clearly it's way less demanding than
Yeah.
Starfield. So which
It's
is
an
on my
older
SSD.
It's an older, yeah. But yeah, my point is that the load screen, well, the developer, if we want to quote him, said that the worlds are very detailed. It's insanely detailed. The interiors and the exteriors, and that's why you have that load screen. And like, dude, everything has physics. There's pens and notepads on the desks that all have
Yeah.
physics.
I think
So
this will all be a
yeah,
moot point, like
yeah,
in a couple more years with they're able to stream AI versions of Doom right now that are
right.
made on the fly. It's not loading from anywhere. It's just like created by the AI and
It's
then
like, yeah,
streamed to you. So I mean, the idea of having computing power that you need more computing power to get rid of load screens, that might be an archaic thought process,
actually,
The next
yeah.
generation of game could be completely different in terms of how it runs.
I want to talk about this early video they showed us of the starships, in Starfield going from one star system to another. And it's a small detail, but right now the screen will flash white and then we'll go to a black loading screen and then we'll come out of this white flash again. And I
Mhm.
remember in the early video, it just went white and then you came out in the next star system. And so part of me is like, what happened there? Because like you had it working. And I understand that bugs happen, and I mean Bethesda has to make a choice and say, okay, we we got to get rid of this for now. But I just like, to me, I'm like, isn't it just the difference between a white loading screen and a black loading screen? But I'm not a
Let's take it
developer.
one step farther. Why don't we farther? Why don't we make that like the level up or like the power up thing that you get from the powers where you're warping through space without the little symbols that they have?
Yeah,
So just take
right.
that, stuff it in between the two things as your loading background
Yeah, that's
and
true.
make it feel
Yeah.
like you're warping through space or even like the Star Wars stars, like sliding past you.
Yep, you could do something like that. But it's interesting you mentioned AI, like, and I think a lot of us are weary of a possible world where like AI is just creating the whole game. But I would
Mhm.
love to see some hybrid stuff. Like, what if you only use AI generative tech
Mhm.
for the loading screen? Like, take me from this gameplay moment to that gameplay moment seamlessly, with AI. It's very
We're in a
possible.
weird spot right now because procedurally generated stuff is not the most fun stuff. It's the biggest stuff. Starfield is
Right.
huge, right?
Yeah.
Minecraft is as big as you want. But it's not, that world isn't satisfying because it just never ends. So you get the sense that either it's not real or it's there's something fake about it, which is kind of unsettling and a little bit like, what's the point, I guess, right? If you
Right.
know that the lost city of whatever is kind of at the end of the rainbow, I don't know where I'm going with this analogy, but if you know that there's like some kind of thing at the end of your destination, then you're more apt to continue your journey, right? You need some kind of like, and that's what's always bothered me about procedurally generated stuff. So I feel like we need it to have big games like No Man's Sky
Yep.
and Starfield, but we've talked about this before. Maybe we need the AI to kind of shape it better and make it feel like there's endings here and there or points that,
Right.
you
Possibly.
know,
Well, what you're saying also leads to another great point that Bethesda already did with Starfield, which was that they have all these handcrafted POIs. They have these handcrafted
mhm,
cities, and they POIs are scattered, so that's a little bit random. However, like for instance, Aquila and Neon, and these cities, New Atlantis, they are always in the same place. And
mhm,
that grounds this procedurally generated universe in a reality. It's dependable. You know where those things are. Some people are. I've seen some people saying, "Oh, they better not do procedurally generated with Elder Scrolls." I don't know because they already did it in the past. Daggerfall, right? That was
mhm,
huge. Like,
mhm,
and that's why they had the fast travel between cities, because they did not expect you to spend days going from city to city. But oh my God, if you're a strict role player and you want to feel that journey, you could. You
mhm.
could do it. And I'm not saying that this is what they're going to do with Elder Scrolls, but I would, after playing Starfield, I would not be against handcrafted landmass,
Mhm.
like the same way they did. Like, what if they did
It's a place that is
Skyrim?
handcrafted.
Yeah, Skyrim's handcrafted. Now imagine, because I love this. Imagine Skyrim. It's all handcrafted. You didn't lose anything. Okay, like this is what annoyed me about the Starfield conversation was, but we lost out on whatever on handcrafted. No, they already said that there's more handcrafted stuff than in any other game. Anyway, my point is, imagine Skyrim as it is, and then they used procedural generation for the landmass around it. So now there's no dialogue that says you cannot go that way, which I just got in Oblivion. I
Hmm.
was on the edge of the map and it just says
I have not gotten that yet. Okay.
I was on the edge of the map and it just says you can't go that way. I was like, oh, thank, okay.
You
But
mean a
imagine,
Oblivion
yeah,
gate didn't open up and like swallow you in and say, you've been consumed by.
yeah, game over. You went too far.
Mhm.
So that's my point with Starfield is like you don't lose anything. You have all the handcrafted stuff you could, ever desire in a game. And then they filled in the worlds with this tech that generates land. I love
Let
that.
me let me flip it on its head a little bit. What if instead of like your example, Skyrim with procedurally generated stuff on the outside of it, what if we just do Skyrim again or like a similar locked land area and then use the procedurally generated idea for enemies, things that populate the world, food,
Right.
everything else, maybe even story elements to some degree. all that. So it's endless. Think about that. Like you're running
That's
into a smart NPC with unique dialogue that no one else has knows about. They have their own storyline. That's all like
right.
as soon
Yeah.
as you meet this character, now it's like generating all this other content
Yeah.
based on the character. Like I don't necessarily need to feel like I can keep walking in one direction endlessly.
Right.
That's not all that exciting unless there's something to see, which there usually isn't anything new kind of in
Yeah.
procedurally generated stuff. So,
Okay, you've made a
yeah, I don't
really
know.
interesting point too. And let me bring up No Man's Sky again because No Man's Sky has procedurally generated creatures. Okay?
Mm,
Now,
mm,
over time, yes, you're going to go, "Oh, okay, these procedurally generated creatures look very similar to those other creatures." So basically, what I mean is that that type of creature has a blueprint, but then
mm.
the game will change like, "Oh, but their head is blue or it's a little
And
bit bigger or
Starfield does that too
yeah,
with the creatures. Yeah.
like some are a little bit bigger, some are, whatever." But now what you're talking about, I can imagine, okay, what if they did that with everything? Like you said,
Hmm.
okay, in the game you can find what, like shish kebabs, food. What if they procedurally generated it so that this shish kebab that you found looks different from that shish kebab?
Yeah.
Then exploration gets really interesting.
The AI could actually assist because typically you need a framework. Like you said, in Starfield, in No Man's Sky, they said, okay, we want orthopods. I don't even know if that's a thing.
Yeah, they have
Whatever.
like
Crab
dinosaurs, they
like.
have
Yeah,
butterflies. Yeah,
exactly. And then these animals, they can never get too small. They can never get too big. There's parameters.
yeah, yeah.
Now you have an AI agent built into your game who does all that for you, right? You don't have to code in
Within the
all these things
parameters.
like
Yep,
right when this crab is in a swamp, a green swamp, it should have shades of green,
right.
that kind of
Yep,
stuff.
yep.
But man, can you imagine how detailed stuff is going to get once they kind of, you know, overcome these technical hurdles?
That they are going to incorporate a lot of this AI gen stuff, but that they are going to give it a different name because I think right now there's a negative connotation around AI generative stuff. And I think they're going to have to be really careful to brand it correctly. And then, as you brought up, have the correct parameters. I do not want to play a game where the AI is just going wild and creating a bunch of stuff. But
Hmm.
if it's given restrictions, I'm very interested in that. I'm very
Yeah, we talked
interested in that.
about sometimes AI relies upon you to make anything happen. It needs input. It's Johnny number five. It needs input, or else it doesn't do anything. So if you're not around to give it the input, or if your input sucks, then that's what you get out of it. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right. They do need to brand it, and I think companies will come up with, what was the ragdoll physics thing?
They had the Havoc engine.
Havoc engine. Thank
Yeah.
you. So like this will be an AI agent, but we'll call it like Rebel or
Right. Yeah. It'll just
whatever.
be something. Yeah.
Kobayashi Maru or something.
We are getting into, our time for the episode, but I do want to just point out one other thing that might be a look at the future of Starfield. Like we talked about this possible overhaul. Well, we all know that when you land on a planet, it generates like a tile, right? So it generates a
Hmm.
land tile that you can explore. Well, people have noticed playing the game and experimenting that since the game launched, after a few updates, they can go much further away on that
Hmm.
excuse me, on that land tile. In addition
They
to
kind of
that,
somehow figured out how to stitch multiple ones together, right?
that's right. And in addition to that, I believe there was a modder that was messing around with Starfield and was able to sort of break the game a little bit. And it allowed him to go like several tiles away from New Atlantis. And he could still see New Atlantis at a distance. I believe that the framework of the game has been worked on over the last couple of years to maybe allow seamless, like, you won't get that message anymore. You've traveled as far
Uh-huh.
as you can. Please go back to your ship. I think that that might be coming,
Yeah.
especially with the
And
Rev 8. Yeah.
it's not going to be all that useful or impressive unless there's some kind of gameplay element, like, for instance, a train. Suddenly you want to build connecting outposts, you want to have like a train between the two of them, and you could ride that train. It's stuff like that.
Oh,
Or
I
you
would
want to
love that.
fly your spaceship ground level to your other outposts. You just kind of want to cruise
Right.
over the surface, or your, maybe not your, but like a Rev 8 style vehicle, that's faster.
I would say even if you can't just fly your ship around willy-nilly over the land
Hmm.
the way that you can with No Man's Sky, even though that would be cool. But even if you can't do that, but they just allowed you to set a point and then just you're in your ship as it travels over,
Hmm.
even that would be a welcome addition.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
that'd be really cool.
They could even put in a lore reason for not being able to manually, they for safety reasons, like this is, the ship
Hmm.
autopilots from here to there. But what that would do for atmosphere of the game would just be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a massive evolution between, I mean, go back to the earliest Bethesda game that you've played to Starfield. So, what will Creation Engine 3, if they even decide to continue to build on it, which I think they might,
Yeah.
but what will that look like? I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
It's so crazy. We didn't even get into, and I'll just mention it, zero G. We
Uh-huh.
did, like, everything that they did with zero G and zero G physics in this game as well. Starfield,
Uh-huh.
huge, just huge.
Yeah, when I didn't do the Red Mile until 2 weeks ago, I mean, the game's been out for a year. I
Yeah,
finally went and did the Red Mile, and my melee skills are unreal. Like, I
yeah,
could sit there, nothing hurts me really, unless it's super high level, but I could take a lot of damage. Red Mile was completely not what I thought it was going to be, which I actually thought it was going to be like a zero G. It is low gravity, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not zero
It's low
G.
gravity. Yeah,
And I thought it would be a literal, like, contained area, not kind of on the planet surface.
yeah,
So the reason why I bring this up is because I feel like there's a lot they could do with zero G in terms of a Red Mile style gauntlet
yeah.
maze where you have to go through and whatever. I'm not on the
There
Bethesda
is all.
team
Yeah,
yet,
yeah.
but there's a
That's right.
lot there's a lot that they could do. Maybe I should mod the game.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. Like, I've thought maybe I should mod. And then I was talking with some people in our Discord about how many hours are spent modding, and I salute the modders. Thank you
Uh-huh.
for what you do. I don't know if
It's a
I'm
young
ready for
man's
that.
game.
Yeah,
Like, it's like
yeah.
you're in between jobs, you got the summer off, and you can literally spend 18 hours a day just coding and doing whatever. It's
I
that kind of.
salute you, and I wish I could get into it, and maybe I will at some point. And maybe I'll start small, but it's amazing what they do.
Hey, man, you give up stamp collecting and knitting, and you're probably got
That's
some
right.
extra hours to play with there. So,
There you go. Absolutely.
nothing wrong with either one of those, by the way.
No, nothing wrong with it. Well, yeah, as we've mentioned a lot in the episode today, we've got our Discord. We've got the link to it in our show notes. You absolutely should join our Discord. We're having a great time, and there's such an amazing group of people here talking about Starfield and talking about other games as well.
Yeah, it's a good time to hop in there and just shoot the breeze with friends. So, if for nothing else, if you just want to, you know, have someplace to chat, that's a good resource, I think.
Yep.
Love the memes. Love the memes.
In addition to that, if you like our podcast, if you like what we're doing, we do have a Patreon. If you want to go there and support, we put all of our episodes there ad free and a little bit early. So that is something to check out. We do appreciate our Patreon members so much.
I think there's a couple Patreon only episodes or pieces of content too.
That's
well.
right.
So we need to get some more up there.
We've started to populate, with more Patreon exclusive content, and we are going to do more in the future, very near future. We've also got, for certain levels, we've got a free sticker that gets delivered to you every 3 months. And then at a higher level for our legendaries, we actually have 4 t-shirts that are delivered at every 3 months throughout the year.
You've designed the stickers and the t-shirts too. So
that's
they're
right.
Actually they're cool because you made them.
I designed them, and they are unique to the Patreon. So if you want to check those out, you can actually go to our Patreon just for free. You can actually become a member for free. There's some free content there, and you can actually see what the stickers look like. But we appreciate keeping this show going.
All right. Well, super shout out to our legendary Patreon members who are the Great Serpent, Bergenstock, Kittlehara, Cherry Bomb RN, and Zigra Rocks. By the way, your Chunks hat and my Trident Lines hat, which I can't fit on over the top of my headphones, otherwise I would wear it.
That's right.
We have Zigra to thank for these.
Yes, Zigra sent that to us.
Very cool.
Such an amazing gift. Yeah. Yes, and thank you to everyone that listens on Spotify, Apple, and thank you to those watching on YouTube. All links are provided in the show notes below. I believe video doesn't seem to be going to the Apple podcast. It goes to Spotify and it goes to YouTube. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that. Yeah, it's not populating.
Well, extra special thanks for comments and feedback. If you have a comment, suggestion, or an in-game story to share, you can comment on our YouTube. You can comment on our YouTube channel, or you can pop into our Discord like we discussed.
Yeah, and if you like the show, consider dropping a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app.
Thanks for traveling to Starfield with us, and we will be back for more next time.
That's right. We'll see you then.